Today we're going to see how many times each state voted for the Democrat for president since 1960. We'll do the same for the Republicans in a future video. Today it's just the Dems. And 1960 is a pretty good cutoff because that's the first year that all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii, voted for president. DC got its electoral votes in 64, so they have one fewer election. I might go back further in future videos, but the more you go back, the harder it gets to compile the data. Way back, there's just less states, and sometimes they supported different parties. This is simple. We've got the map with 16 tiers of blue shades. It's going to go from 1 all the way up to 16 times. The max possible is 17. None of the states have done it. And this is just another way to present the data. If there happens to be a mistake, also let me know down below. So we'll go in order with the least up to the most. Let's start with the states that voted for the Democrat just one time since 1960. This should be pretty quick with a couple of exceptions. First is Alabama. The only time they definitively voted for a Democrat was 1976 with Jimmy Carter. It's also the exact same thing next door in Mississippi. In 1960, it gets a little tricky here, but both of these states had unpledged electors that supported somebody other than Kennedy, the national Democrat. So it's a little debatable, but technically they didn't support the Democrat. They definitely did not support the Republican either. So that's going to be one less for both sides in these two states for 1960. It's also one additional less in these states in 1968, where they both supported George Wallace. So once we get that out of the way, then we could plug in Alaska. The one time they supported the Democrat was Lyndon Johnson in 64, where he had a massive landslide. It's the same thing in Idaho, also in Kansas. Then it's Nebraska, North and South Dakota, Oklahoma, Utah, and Wyoming. All those states just one time voting for the Democrat. Let's go up to the next tier. We've got 2 times. First, it's Arizona. This state has been voting Republican pretty heavily since 1960 with 2 exceptions. One of those is Bill Clinton in 96. The other one, of course, is Joe Biden in 2020. One of the few states that actually voted for Goldwater in 64 over Lyndon Johnson. But of course, that was his home state. Next, it's Indiana. The 2 years they voted for a Democrat were 64 with Johnson and 2008 with Barack Obama. Then it's Montana, also Lyndon Johnson in 64, but it's Bill Clinton in 92. He was able to capture this state. And the last state in this tier is South Carolina. They supported Republicans except in 1960 with Kennedy and 76 with Carter. Let's go up to the next tier. We don't have any states that did it just 3 times, so we're going to go up to 4. First, we've got Kentucky. Last time they voted for a Democrat was Bill Clinton in 96. It's the same thing in Louisiana. Then we've got North Carolina. They most recently supported Democrat Barack Obama in 2008. Then it's Tennessee, going red since 2000. Finally, we've got Texas. The last time this state went blue was Carter back in 76. Up to the next tier, 5 times. We've got Arkansas. It went blue in 60, 64, 76, 92, and 96. In Florida, this state went blue in 64, 76, 96, 2008, and 12. Georgia went blue in 60, 76, 80, 92, and 2020. And finally, Missouri. This used to be a pretty good bellwether state, but it last supported a Democrat in 96 with Bill Clinton. Up to 6 times, we've got 2 states. First is Ohio. It last went blue in 2012 with Obama. Then it's Virginia, last going red in 2004 with George W. Bush. How about 7 times? Another couple of states. First is Colorado. Then the other state here is Iowa. 2 different political histories in those states. Now we're getting into even bluer territory. Let's go up to 8 times. Here we've got 2 more states. First is a current swing state. It's Nevada. Then it's an extremely red state. It's West Virginia. For a while, it was known as a blue state, but it hasn't done so since 1996. Next up, we've got 9 times since 1960. 1 state here. It's New Hampshire. Considered a borderline swing state, it last voted for a Republican in 2000. Now we'll go up higher. We've got 10 times. First on the West Coast, it's California. Then let's put in the current purple state of Michigan. Then in the Southwest, it's New Mexico. In the Northeast, it's Vermont, going blue since 1992. And finally, back into the Rust Belt, it's Wisconsin. All those states, 10 out of 17 times voting for the Dems. About 11 out of 17. We've got a few more states. First is Illinois. It's another state that's been blue since 1992 with Bill Clinton. Also fitting that description is Maine and New Jersey. Then we'll go back out to the West Coast and put in Oregon. That one has been blue even longer, since 1988. The last state in this tier is the last Rust Belt state state. It's Pennsylvania. All of those states 11 out of 17 times. How about the next tier? 12 times since 1960. We've got Connecticut. And another state with a little bit different voting history is Delaware. And the last state in this tier is going to close out the West Coast. It's Washington. The last time that state went red was for Ronald Reagan back in '84. If we go up to 13 times, there's no new states here, so we're going to go up to 14. Here we've got two states. First is Maryland. The 3 times they went red were 1972, 84, and 88. The other state here is New York. They were blue in every year except for 72, 80, and 84. So again, a little bit of a different voting pattern. And we're running out of states here. Let's go up to the second highest tier, 15 times. We've got 3 pretty blue states here. First is Hawaii. They were blue in every year except 72 and 84, the 2 landslide years for Nixon and Reagan. Next, the same description applies to Rhode Island. And the last state here is nearby, Massachusetts. They were blue except in 80 and 84. And that leaves the absolute highest tier, 16 times out of 17. And if you know a little bit of presidential history, you're probably not too shocked about what's left. The only state remaining is Minnesota. It's far from the bluest state out there, but they did support the Democrats the most number of times since 1960. That is 16 times. They also have the longest consecutive wins by a Democrat for president. That streak is only snapped when you go back to 1972 with Richard Nixon. That's the only time this state went red in the 64 years between 1960 and 2024. And a little bit extra on top we could put in Washington, D.C. They've also done it 16 times, although they've only had 16 chances. 64 was the first time they had any electoral votes. So that's it. That's the map. And it's always fascinating to see which states have different voting patterns compared to other politically similar states. It might seem like many states are locked into how they're going to vote today, but over the past 5+ decades, that has not always been the case. Different things happen depending on the candidates and the issues. But it is pretty clear on a glance that the darker states are most of the blue states we know today. In the Northeast, the West Coast, plus Illinois and the 3 Rust Belt states. Those 3 were mostly fairly blue until 2016. But every state has its exceptions. 72 with Nixon and 84 with Reagan. 2 massive landslides that gave the Republicans wins in some of these solid blue states we think of today. Some states have long-running streaks. Others might just be getting started. But hopefully this helps you better visualize the political strength of the Democrats for president since 1960 in all 50 states. Again, we'll take a look at the Republicans in a future video, but for now, let me know in the comments. What do you think about any of this data? Which states today surprise you the most by how much or how little they voted for the Dems? Are any of these streaks in jeopardy of ending in the next election? Let me know what you think down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.